Hello everybody, I am so excited for today's episode because it is a full ride POV of sorts for Kilimanjaro Safari. And that safari is one of the coolest things in all of Disney in my opinion. Yeah. Absolutely, hands down, one of the coolest ones. And this particular POV, I will say, when we were filming it, we got a really good set of animals. Like, it was a good safari, a lot of cool things happening. So stay tuned, because I promise you, you're probably going to see some things that you've never seen before on the safari or in anyone else's video. There's some cool things, so stay tuned.
Hey, there she goes. My friends.
You want to see how? My friends on the right, please watch our hands, arms, feet, legs as the doors on your right are closing. That's not a word. Are we ready, friends? Then, as we say in Harambe, Twin Day, and Twin Day means let's go. Jumbo friends, my name's Devin, and I'll be your safari driver for these next 2 weeks. I hope you all are as excited as I am. Now, before we do get started, please make sure we are staying seated at all times. This is going to be a pretty bumpy ride. Please make sure we also keep our hands, arms, feet, legs inside the vehicle at all times. We're going to be pretty up close and personal with some nature. We might also get up close with some animals, so I want to remind you, this is not a petting zoo, so please don't reach out and pet them.
What?
Now, above you is a spotting guide. That spotting guide is a suggestion of all the animals we have the potential of seeing on this trip. We're not guaranteed to see all of them, but we do usually get some pretty good luck. Also, one final reminder, please make sure we are not calling out to these animals, as they are not your pets at home, so they will not be coming to the sound of your voice. I also want to remind you to please keep a tight grip on those devices if you're taking photography or videography. Now, our luck is going to start off pretty great because our friend over on the right that looks like a zebra, at least on that bottom half, that's the okapi. Now, the okapi isn't even related to the zebra, they're related to the giraffe. We know this by their skull shape and prehensile tongue.
He's coming. Don't run him over.
Prehensile means finger-like, and they'll be using that finger-like tongue to grip the leaves off trees.
Take your time. We're here all day.
All right, and our friend who just exited the road, that was the saddle-billed stork. The saddle-billed stork's identifiable by the yellow saddle on their bill. They got their name pretty on the nose, didn't they? Now their wingspan's going to be about 9 feet long. And that's going to be about the same size as the canopy on above your head. Now over on our left, that's the black rhino. Looks a little orange, but that's probably because he rolled around in some mud. Now this is a pretty rare sighting because there's only 5,000 black rhinos left in the world. Now that's due to poaching of their horns. Their horns are thought to be medicinal to us. However, we know that's not true because they're actually made out of the same material as our fingernails, and that's keratin. Now on the right, that reddish brown antelope, that's the bongo. If you look to the left, there is another antelope there. It's that grayish brown antelope behind the bongo, and that's the greater kudu. Now the greater kudu can have horns up to 6 feet long. However, we know that's a female greater kudu that we're seeing because they don't have horns. Turkey bongo, though both male and female will have angled back horns to help while they run through the underbrush of the forest so they don't get tangled. Now friends, that was a little Ituri forest where many of the animals will be using their coats to camouflage themselves. We're now heading down into the Safi River where many of our friends will stay underwater like that Nile hippo to our right. Now that Nile hippo will be spending most of its life underwater, but this doesn't make them aquatic creatures, it just makes them very good swimmers. Most of the time though, they will be just trotting along the bottom. Ooh, we get a very special treat.
Zoop! Missed.
Close. Now the Nile hippo will actually even sleep underwater, instinctively coming up every 8 minutes to breathe. They can do that because their noses along with their eyes and ears are on the tops of their heads. There's another one right down there in the water if you look. Now that grayish white bird on the island, that's the pink-backed pelican. The pink-backed pelican gets its name from the coloration that happens during mating season. There are also colonial nesters, which means they will get into groups of about 20 to 500 pairs of pelicans. Now that was a pretty rare sighting, but that was awesome. And over on our left, there's the Nile crocodile. Now the Nile crocodile is the largest of the crocodilian species. They can eat up to half of their body mass in one sitting, which means that their prey is going to be a lot larger than themselves. Now they're able to take down this much larger prey because their jaws can break through bone. They also are very patient eaters. They can wait underwater for up to 2 hours while hunting their prey. I'm not that patient. Now I'm not telling you all this about the Nile crocodile to scare you because they are gentle creatures, at least to their own, as they will take their eggs and roll them in their mouths to help them hatch. Now friends, we are entering the savannah. When I say ooh, you say ah, ooh. Ah. Thank you. Now the savannah is home to many of Africa's most famous animals. Does anyone have any wild guesses as to what famous animals live on the savannah? Giraffes?
Zebra.
Zebras? The thing with horns? Yeah, great job. Now that thing with horns that we're talking about is coming up on the right, and that's the Ankoli cattle. Those horns are very large. They'll be about 4 to 6 feet long. They also will be cooling units for the cattle. Their blood will circulate through the horns, taking the excess heat and dispersing it. They also have a nickname. They're nicknamed the Watusi cattle, and that's after the Watusi people that first domesticated them. They were never seen for meat or dairy. They were seen more for currency. The more Watusi cattle you have, the wealthier you were. I could use a few Watusi cattle right now. Now the animals here on the savannah are going to be using their speed to stay away from predators instead of using their camouflage like they do in the forest. One predator they'll try to stay away from is that spotted hyena to our left. Now the spotted hyena does live in a matriarchal society, which means that the lowest ranking female is still going to be ranked higher than the highest male. Can I get a woo from the ladies? Woo! Thank you all for joining me in wooing and demonstrating that they are actually very vocal creatures as well. They'll make anything from a ghostly woo to a maniacal laugh. I will not be demonstrating the maniacal laugh. Now over on our left and right, there are a couple more Ankoli cattle. Now if you're looking at these tall dirt towers coming out of the ground and thinking, what are those? I'm so glad I'm here to tell you. Those are termite mounds. Now termite mounds are made of dirt, spit, and dung. Ew. They'll bake in the savanna sun, getting as hard as concrete, and the elephants will then use them as scratching posts. Once the elephants have worn them down, the antelopes will get on top of them and see if any predators are around. Now over on our left, that's a springbok. Now the springbok is a prime example of speed here on the savanna. They are among the top 10 fastest land animals in the world. They'll get up to speeds of about 50 to 60 miles per hour. They also can spring 6 feet in the air and 13 feet forward. Now that is up to the armrest on the truck and about half the length of the truck. And there's another springbok to our right. Now when it comes mating season for them, the males will do something called pronking. Now pronking is they will jump up in the air, but this time they will keep their legs straight instead of bending them when they're jumping. And this is going to show off their athleticism to the female springbok. That's what I was talking about. The female springbok. Now over on our right, that gray antelope, that's the white-bearded wildebeest. Wildebeest means wild beast, and they'll be the most densely packed herd of all mammals besides one. Does anyone have any wild guesses as to what that one is? It's the human. Now coming up on our left, that's the Maasai giraffe. Now we know this is the Maasai giraffes because those patches are rough around the edges. Those patches will actually be as unique to them as our fingerprints are to us. Now if you see this one closest to us, that is a baby Maasai giraffe. A baby Maasai giraffe will start out at about 6 feet tall, which is probably taller than most people in this truck. If you're taller than 6 feet and above the age of 21, my name's Devin. Now, a fully mature Maasai giraffe will be about 20 feet tall. And they do have that prehensile tongue that I talked about with the okapi because they are related to the okapi. Their prehensile tongue, however, will have a mucus covering it. This mucus is going to be a sunblock for their tongue because their tongue does spend a lot of time outside of their mouths so they can eat the leaves off trees. Now back there was a knockdown tree, which must mean we're entering elephant territory. And there is an African elephant to our right. Now our friend here is eating, and before he eats, he's going to shake that food. Now that is not to play with it, but to actually get the bugs, dirt, and debris off, so it doesn't upset his very sensitive stomach. He also will flap his ears, and that's going to help cool him down. We like to call it ear conditioning. This should be another view of the African elephant, a little closer. Now we can assume that is a male African elephant because the males will tend to be more solitary. They can get into bachelor herds, but they usually will, even in the bachelor herds, be very singular. It'll be the females and the babies that will tend to be in more of a herd. Now as long as this bridge doesn't make any noise, we should be fine. Never mind. But as long as you don't look down and to the left, you'll miss all the bamboo on the right. Ooh, bamboo. Now the African elephant is suffering due to habitat loss. One reason for that habitat loss is the mining of coltan. Now coltan is a mineral found in devices such as your cell phones. It's also found in Xbox systems, PlayStation systems, and laptops. Mostly anything that is rechargeable. Now you may be wondering, well Devin, what can I do with this information? And I'm here to tell you one thing you can do is you can recycle your old devices when you get new ones. By recycling these devices, you're making tremendous efforts to help the livelihoods and natural habitats of the African elephant by reducing the mining of coltan. Over on our left, there's a few more African elephants. Now they have thrown some dirt and mud on their backs, and that's going to help act as a sunblock for them and help cool them down. They do have very sensitive skin. Now, on a bit more of a silly note, through conservation efforts, we've been able to find out that the African elephant is afraid of bees. Now that is because the bees in Africa will act more like hornets in the US. They'll be more aggressive like the hornets are. They also will buzz at such a high frequency that it's very irritable to the elephant's sensitive ears. Now, the elephant has sensitive ears, sensitive stomachs, and sensitive skin, making them very sensitive creatures, whereas I just have sensitive feelings. Now, we can assume these are female and baby African elephants. I mean, that one over there is smaller, so. However, they are near a very large tree, and that very large tree is the baobab tree. And the baobab tree is pretty cool, if I do say so myself, because it has two nicknames. Now, the first nickname is the upside down tree because it looks like its roots are coming out of the top. Now, those are not the roots, those are the limbs. They just won't have leaves for 9 months out of the year. Now, that's going to help conserve the water inside of them, because come drought season, the elephants and other animals with tusks will puncture that trunk of the tree, getting the water out. And this is what gives it its second nickname, the Tree of Life. Now, coming up on our left, that's the greater flamingo. Now, the greater flamingo is actually the lightest pink of all flamingo. They will start at a grayish color at birth, and through eating small brine shrimp and other water creatures high in beta carotene. Now, a group of flamingo is called a flamboyance of flamingos. And it's hypothesized the reason that they keep 1 foot up and 1 foot down is to regulate their body temperature. And if you saw those nubs on their legs, those are not the knees of the flamingo, those are the ankles. Over on our left, there's some more African elephants. Now, here on the savannah, the animals are looking for many ways to stay cool, especially on those hot savannah days. One way that they'll stay cool is by those mud pits to our left. They will roll around in those mud pits. Now, this does remind me that no matter where we go on the savannah, there is always a possibility of seeing some amazing animals, so be on the lookout for them. Now, they could be behind us, they could be in front of us. They also could be to the left of us. They could be even in these trees coming up on the right. But they're not. Now, up ahead on the left, I do see some cheetahs. Now, the cheetah is actually going to hunt during the day, unlike most big cats who will hunt at night. And that's because if they tried to hunt at night, the other big cats would be able to chase them away. And that's because the cheetah's built for speed and not so much power. They're able to get up to approximately 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. However, they can only do this for very short bursts, only about the length of 1 football field. Now, while they are hunting during the day, they do have those black tear marks on their faces, and that's going to help reflect the sun out of their eyes. Over on our left, coming up, that is a kopje, and a kopje is a large formation of rocks. And a great place to find a pride of lions, so be on the lookout. That's it.
Looks like they can just walk out. But can't she just walk out?
Now over on our right, lying down in that dirt, that is a bontebok. The bontebok will be able to stand 5 minutes after birth and walk 15. On our left is a lion just lying around. Now the lion will rest and sleep for 16 to 20 hours during the day, and that's going to help conserve their energy for the hunt at night. Now that hunt at night will not be happening by that male lion, but by the lionesses over here on our left now. Now, does anyone know the Swahili word for lion? It's Simba. And if you are a wilderness explorer on board, I'm going to let you know that you're riding the Simba 1, also known as the best truck on the Savannah, by myself. Thank you. Now coming up on our right, the bontebok that we saw earlier is going to be viewable again. However, there are 2 more antelopes here, or 3 more, wow. Those are water bucks. And also some ostrich eggs down on the ground, I do believe. Now the water buck will emit a smelly, oily substance to cover their coats, and that's going to help them find each other and also make their coats waterproof. Those ostrich eggs, if you stood on one, would not crack one bit. However, if you stood on an ostrich, they would just get mad. Now it does seem we are entering Magadi Glen, and Magadi Glen is home to the warden's post. Now the warden will be staying here and making sure everything on the reserve runs smoothly and all the animals are taken very good care of. However, it usually doesn't get very lonely for the warden. However, it might be a little lonely right now because it does seem that the warden's Nigerian dwarf goats have escaped. Now that's alright because the warden will be able to find them soon, I'm sure. They probably can't get too far. Now they will produce a very nutritious milk that will be given to the village of Harambe and sold out of the ports here. Now friends, it does seem we are on the outskirts of the village, so I want to thank you all so much for going on this journey with me. It's been a pretty awesome 2 weeks, don't you think so? Thank you. My name is Devin, and I do hope you enjoyed your time. If you didn't, then my name was Daniel. Did anyone see their favorite animals? What was your favorite? The lions? Now, I do think they all are pretty cool. I do want to remind you, though, that no matter where you live, you can always go outdoors and explore and help protect the natural habitats and the wildlife that live there. If you're interested in helping any of the animals you saw on this trip, then I highly suggest finding ways to help the natural habitats. One way that I do that is I have reduced my use of single-use plastics. I now use all natural bamboo toothbrushes instead of single-use plastic toothbrushes. However, there are so many other ways to help this, like recycling those old devices that we talked about. There is also getting reusable water bottles, reusable lunch bags, so many other ways. If you're looking for a monetary way, there is also a way to do that, and that's through the Disney Conservation Fund. Now, the Disney Conservation Fund, I'm not here to tell you to donate to Disney, because that's not my job. My job is to say, help the animals. And it does go directly towards helping the animals, both here on the reserve and out in the wild. When you donate to the Disney Conservation Fund, Disney matches dollar for dollar. So that's pretty cool. Now, if you want to learn more about this, the villagers in the village will be able to give you more information. However, I want to teach you one final phrase that we say here in Harambe, and that's the way we say goodbye. We don't like saying goodbye because we believe goodbye is just too sad and too final. So instead, we say Kwaherini. So Kwaherini, everyone. Go well and go wild and go make a difference, friends. Thank you all so much for joining me on this trip. Wash your hands, arms, feet, legs, as the doors on your right open. And Kwaherini, friends, make sure to stay hydrated. It does get hot out there.
There you have it. The safari is really long. It's such a, and I love it, but it makes you feel like you're in a real safari. Like, I really like it. And those are gas-powered trucks. They're not on a track. I mean, they do drive the trucks around. And I love how the animals get in the way. I loved in the video how she was feeding the hippos pumpkins. Like, their giant mouths were opening, and you could see them up close. And there's some really cool things. But every time we go on the safari, we see something different. Something is new. Something has changed. Sometimes, I mean, I've had it to where, like, there's the rhinoceros touching the truck. Like, literally, they were yelling at people to keep their hands and everything inside the truck because the rhino, he was touching the truck. I've had giraffes walking across and reaching in with their heads and trying to lick you. Not really lick you, but basically, we've had to sit there for a long time when a Jeep had to come out and clear the stuff that was in front because they wouldn't move. There was one dodgy rhinoceros that didn't want to get out of the way. So there's so many new, like, crazy cool things there. I just love it. It's such an awesome adventure. And I'm always sad when I don't get to see an elephant in a good spot or a lion. The lion's usually the dodgy one that you're like, am I gonna get to see it? And one time we've actually heard the lions growl. And until you've actually heard a full male lion growl, you don't understand what they sound like. Like on a video or on a track or whatever, it doesn't sound like there's such this, like, I don't even know how they make this noise, but the growl is like this, like, broad echo chamber almost thing that just rattles for like a mile. It's a really cool experience if you ever get to do it. So I highly recommend Safari every time you go, and do it a day and night because it's a different experience both times. You need to do it every time because you're going to see something different every time. So there you have it, Kilimanjaro Safari, one of the best things ever made in any theme park in my opinion. Until tomorrow, the Noble Way
is the easy way.
Bye-bye, everybody.